Welcome back to video 2 for module 3, where we're going to be learning how to close with a three-way call. Now, first of all, let's just quickly speak about this word closing. It's very important to understand that in network marketing, the closing that we do is not the same as in other types of sales. It's really about having a service-oriented attitude of being there to be able to answer all the questions and give all the possible information. And the reason for that is if we close too hard and use too many sales technique, we don't actually get the right outcome, which is having a person to engage in your business rather than just signing up and collecting their money. So if they choose to sign up for the right reasons because we haven't pushed too hard and used too many sales technique, then what we find is usually these people engage more in the business because they actually join for their own reasons. And long term, you have better duplication. And that's what it's all about, right? That's what we're learning in this training course. So let's now look at how we actually collect decisions with a three-way phone call. Before we go into the details of doing three-way phone calls, we need to understand what is actually the decision triangle that happens on a three-way phone call. See, on a three-way phone call, basically, and I'm sure a lot of you have done three-way phone calls and are using them in your business, but this is basic information. If you've never done a three-way phone call, I want you to listen to this because it's really very, very important stuff. So in a decision triangle, first of all, there's you, and you obviously have created trust with your prospect. This is either somebody who you know, an acquaintance, a friend, and perhaps a new friend that you've created some trust with, a relationship with. And of course, you also have the expert, which is your upline. And your upline, actually, you have created some respect between the prospect and your upline, the expert here, because you have used what we call an edification procedure. An edification is simply a way of introducing people so that you can create influence for the expert, for the upline on the phone call, as they're helping you to answer the questions of the prospect and getting them to make a decision. So what happens is that in an ideal decision-making environment, you will have both trust and respect. And that's why you actually need three people, because it is very often that the prospect actually does have trust with us. They do actually trust us, but they don't actually respect us in a business sense. And this happens more if this is somebody that has already known us in the past and they know that, for example, we've never owned a business before, and now we've come up with this great idea of owning a network marketing business, right? So it is quite often that trust and respect don't coincide in just one person, and that is why it's so important that there's three people. Now, in a modern day of technology, we can simply connect three phone calls, obviously, together, and this is one of the best tools in network marketing that we have, not just because we are saving time by not meeting up, but also because we're actually doing several things at the same time. See, number one, you're of course collecting a decision from a prospect and you're starting to potentially make some income, but at the same time, you're listening into the phone call between your upline and the prospect, and you're also learning yourself. So you're learning as well as earning. So it's a great way to train yourself and your team members. And guess what? Anytime that you're training someone at the same time as doing your business, it's all about duplication. So that's why, three-way phone calls lie at the center of creating duplication. Now, let's have a look at a few different types of three-way phone calls. Most often we speak about what we call the closing three-way phone calls. And in this module, specifically in this video of this module, we're going to talk all about the closing three-way phone calls. And they certainly are one of the best tools to collect decisions and get people started. But there's so many other types of three-way phone calls. For example, you could use them to welcome new team members and get them started. For example, let's say that this prospect has now decided to join your business. Well, this three-way phone call could actually be one of your upline support leaders getting this person started with a 10-step process we looked at in Module 2, and you could be listening in. Also, you could be using three-way phone calls for recognition, actually just recognizing somebody in your team, for example, who's just accomplished and got to a new rank, right? So many different things like that. What three-way phone calls really are very good at is exerting influence. So anytime that you believe you don't have enough influence with your prospect or your team member, three-way phone call probably is the answer out of that, is getting somebody who's more successful than yourself on a phone call and actually getting them to help you with some of their influence. For example, let's say that one of your team members is no longer very active. Now, sometimes, no matter how much we tell a team member that they need to do the work, they're not going to listen to us because we have too much relationship. But getting a third party, one of your upline support leaders, to help on a three-way phone call, and perhaps they may not say too many different things, but you will see that the team member will actually engage in a different way by having a third party. It's also, for example, when we're building for large events, we've used this strategy really successfully. And what we did is had one of our upline support leaders on the line, maybe for a couple of hours, and we would simply be dialing into team members that we wanted to make sure they are actually turning up at a big event like a convention and stuff like that. So, anytime you want to exert influence, anytime you want to get people to do the things that are really important for them and they're not actually doing it when you're telling them, three-way phone call may be the answer. Like I said, in this video, we're going to focus on the closing three-way phone call because it is one of the best tools to actually quickly get people to make a decision and sign them up in the business. And of course, we're focusing on this because this is really a great way to make sure that duplication happens in your team. Again, the reason three-way phone call is so good for duplication, and this is the summary, is because let's say that you just signed up today in the business. You're within the first day, which is all what this module number 3 is all about, right? We're talking about the first day in the business. Well, you don't really have any experience. You don't really have any knowledge and answers about the compensation plan, the products, and so on. So if you can get someone to help you to answer questions and you're just quietly listening and learning, then guess what? You're actually showing the brand new prospect how simple this business really is. Like, you just signed up 24 hours ago and now you're actually already doing the business and somebody's helping you to do it. So you don't need to be an expert. Somebody else does it and you listen and learn and still earn the money. That's when the psychology is right. And that's why people will be joining your business, because they will see it is simple enough for them to repeat it. We said this over and over already in the course, but duplication is really all about showing people that they can do something very simply. And three-way call certainly does that for both prospects and your team members. So now let's have a look at, how do we actually do three-way phone calls in network marketing and some of the reasons we do them. Well, number one, we want to save time, right? So if you want to quickly collect a decision from someone, but you don't have all the answers, maybe you need to wait for days until you get to an event with your prospect and they listen to the whole presentation and maybe ask an upline. So, a shortcut out of that to save time is simply to get them on a three-way phone call and get one of your upline support leaders to help straight away. It's about saving energy and money as well. So it's really about being efficient. It's about really being able to go straight into the 3 steps of rapid mobilization and really get decisions and move on. It's very duplicatable, right? What we've already been saying, it works for duplication. It gives you leverage. I mean, how great is it that you don't have to know anything, but you can still be signing people up in your business? And the reason they're able to make decisions is because somebody else is helping you. So you can leverage your upline to do that. They're scalable. So this is really very, very important, meaning as your business grows, these type of phone calls are really simple to teach to your team, so that once upon a time when your team is really big, you'll be able to replace yourself and you'll have the leverage of having a residual income. So you won't always be inside the business doing the work. Also, they are service oriented and not sales focused. See, like I said already before, in network marketing, we do a particular type of sale. We are not actually pushing for someone to buy our products or services. That's actually not going to give you any duplication. If you want duplication, what we need to come from is a service attitude, is being oriented to serve people, to get them the best information, to all the information they need so they can make the right decision for them. Whether this is for them or not, that's up to them, but we are here to give them all the information. And really, that's what three-way phone calls do, is really saying, look, we are here for you. Here's an expert that can answer your questions. And let's see, whatever questions you have, we'll do our best to answer them. And, if this is not for you, that's great too. So remember, the more you're using sometimes sales technique to sign somebody up, the less your duplication is going to work. So just remember that point, very important. Also, you can scale them up to different geographical areas, not just in your city, but you can easily go to a different city because you're on the phone, you're doing it in your pajamas, right? Pajama bosses do things in pajamas, international and so on. And remember, this decision triangle is so important. So having the trust and respect between the three people and actually enable a decision enabling environment is what makes three-way phone calls so great. So hope I've really convinced you now how three-way phone calls can work for your business. Now let's look at what is the exact protocol. Like, how do we even get somebody on a three-way phone call, and what do we say, and how to introduce our upline, because I'm sure that you would like some of those scripts, right? So now let's look at the 6 steps and what happens in each of these steps. So the first step, in a sense, is actually the follow-up phone call that you're making as a part of your 3-step rapid mobilization, right? First, you call them to invite, which is step 1. Then they look at the video presentation, and step 3, it is a follow-up phone call. And this is really the time that you call up and you say, have you watched the videos? Okay, and you qualify the prospect that they actually have watched the videos and have had the time. And if they say yes, then you go to step 2. You hang up the phone and you call your upline. And guess what? You tell upline, you know what? My prospect has already watched the information and I need some help to do a 3-way call. And if the expert or the upline has the time in that moment, then what you can do is actually put your upline on hold, or expert goes on hold. There's a button on your phone. You can put them on hold. And then you call your prospect, right? And at the same time, then on step 4, you finally merge calls. Okay, so step 3 and step 4 are just a little bit technical. What I suggest you do is you get your children's or your spouse's phones, get 3 phones right in front of you, and you play around them with them and actually understand the technology, how it works. So first you call, you put the expert on hold, and then you call the prospect. And step 4, you merge the 3 calls. Now, in step 5 is a really, really important step. This is a step where you introduce your prospect to the expert and your expert to the prospect, right? And this is a time where you will edify your upline support leader, and you will use that edification protocol, which will create respect that the prospect will have for the expert, for the upline, so that the upline actually has the influence that they need to help the prospect make a decision. So this step 5 we're going to talk in detail about. And then step 6, really, really important. After you've done all that, just say to everyone, look, I'm going to mute myself now that I've introduced you. I'm going to listen and learn. And guess what? They're going to be starting to talk. Makes sense. So these are the 6 steps, how you actually transition from a follow-up into a 3-way call. And there are scripts in each of these steps, so we're going to be looking at each of these steps now. Now, quickly, a little bit about technology. I mean, in today's world, you can do 3-way calls on so many different platforms. I mean, you could just be using your phone and your mobile lines. You could be using any of these applications. I mean, between WhatsApp, Facebook voice chat, Viber, WeChat, Google Hangout, I mean, Skype, there's so many different platforms where you can get 3 people to talk, at the comfort of your own mobile phone. So I suggest you get good at one. And you know what? Mobile is still great, but if you want to save money, then you can go through some of these applications. And then just remember that occasionally we'll be using also YouTube and Vimeo to upload tools where we want to actually replace ourselves, or we cannot do a 3-way call. And actually, we will talk more about this second part with YouTube and Vimeo in the following modules. In this module, we're simply going to be covering you actually doing a 3-way call on your mobile phone or on an application and talking to both your prospect and your upline support leader. Sounds good? So now that you have chosen a specific technology for yourself and practiced it, now let's look at what you actually say on these calls. First of all, let's look at the transition to a 3-way call. Because I think this is often where we get really nervous. We know that hopefully our prospect has now looked at the videos, watched the videos, and they have some information about our company and opportunity. And this is potentially the place where they'll say, no, I don't want to know more, right? So we sometimes feel like the phone weighs a ton. And I think it's helpful to have a simple step-by-step follow-up protocol where you can actually ask some questions. Now, we've already spoken about the Fortune follow-up script, and the Fortune follow-up is simply asking 3 questions. Have you reviewed the information so far? What did you like best? And do you have any questions, right? So you want to just pick up the phone and say, hey, Mary, it's great. Is this a good time? This is the time that we arranged yesterday when you told me you're going to watch a video. So have you actually reviewed the video? Great. What did you like best so far? Let her talk a little bit and then say, great, do you have any questions? And when Mary says, yes, I have some questions, or yeah, I want to know more, and so on, then you transition into introducing your upline support leader. And the way you do that is just saying, look, yeah, that's a great question you just asked me. Because I'm quite new in this business, let me see if I can get one of our support leaders to help you with this question. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hang up the phone. And if you have a little bit of time, just a few minutes time, let me see if I can get somebody to help us. And then we can just answer any questions and see if this is the right fit for you. All we want to do is to make sure that you've had the best information to make your own decision. And if this is not for you, that's cool too. Sounds good, Mary? I'm just about to hang up the phone and call one of my upline support leaders, and we'll call you straight back. Okay, great. Okay, so that's a really simple way of transitioning into a 3-way phone call. And then, of course, as you're merging the calls, here's a really important script to introduce both the prospect to the upline and the upline to the prospect, right? So we're going to first look at the Millionaire Edification 3-step formula. And in this formula, we're going to do 3 things. Number 1, we're going to, introduce the expert, but actually introduce it with the scarcity and the privilege to have them on the line, because we want to start creating an environment of influence so that the upline support leader can actually help the prospect to make a decision. Also, we're going to be sharing their brief background and success story. And finally, in step 3, establishing why we're actually on this call, right? So these 3 steps are really simple. So the first step is, it is sharing the scarcity and the privilege to have the expert on the line. So let's just assume we have a prospect, this is me, and I have a prospect called Mary on the line, and I have the expert who's called Jane, my upline support leader, right? So what I would do is say something like, hey, Mary, we're so lucky today to have Jane on the line. She's really a very busy lady, and I just caught her in between meetings, so we're in luck, and she's here to answer any of your questions. So that's the first important thing. The second step is now we're going to be sharing a brief background and success story. So we keep talking and say something like, let me just quickly tell you a little bit about Jane. Jane is a very successful leader in our company, and she's one of only 3 to have reached the top rank of, diamond or ambassador or whatever it is. She's building a large team, and she's helped hundreds of people to create an income with our company. So, what you really want to say here is you want to establish that the person who's on the line is an expert of some sort, that they already have a proven track record, they've already created some results. Now, this doesn't need to be a millionaire, this doesn't need to be someone who's made millions of dollars. This is simply someone who's been in the business for a little longer than you, and somebody who's already created some results, already earning some income with the company, and has, successfully sponsored people. So like I said, it doesn't need to be a millionaire, but you need to know what they've created and how long they've been in the company. You can even share a story. Hey, in just a very quick, quick story behind this, Jane's been in the business for only 3 months, and in 3 months, she's already earning more than $5,000 per month. So she's here to answer any of your questions. Okay. And finally, the step 3 is really going to put the prospect at ease. And this is what I say. I say, look, Mary, we're just on this call to be able to answer any of your questions, and Mary, who's already reviewed the business presentation, and see if this is a fit for her. So we're very fortunate to have Jane here, who's very knowledgeable and experienced. And briefly, Jane, let me just tell you about my prospect, Mary. Mary is right here. She's my friend. She wants to have more time to spend time with her family, and she's seen the presentation. So I'm really excited for you to talk. So I'm going to put myself on mute now and pass the call to Jane. Okay, you're going to pass the call to your upline, not to Mary. You need to make sure that the upline is always in control of the conversation. So at this point, Jane will come on call and say, great, Mary, Masha has told me briefly a little bit about you. I see that you've seen the presentations. What is it that jumps at you? Was there any questions you have? So the expert will handle the call from here. Okay, so these are 3 simple ways how you can edify the expert. And the reason it's called Millionaire Edification Formula is because if you really learn how to edify properly, I believe you will become a millionaire in this industry. Network marketing is all about edification, is about speaking positively of other people and creating influence for them so that they can help you in your business. So now that we know how to edify our upline support leader, let's now look at what to do if you don't have an upline. And this is a very common thing. Sometimes we get excited about our business, but there's not actually somebody that can help us. So don't despair, that's all good. What you can do is, number 1, you can actually use a company or a team tool. So that could be like just a simple video that one of your upline support leaders has made for you. And this video is going to actually be answering some objections and some questions, common questions, and also edifying you, so that the prospect who's watching this video is going to say, oh, wow, Masha's actually, excited about this and she's going to be helping me and it's okay. I'm excited to work with her. You could do that, or you could create a really simple tool to help you, okay? What I mean by that is, so let's say that you don't have anyone in your upline support that can help. So what I would do is, at an upcoming event, at an upcoming company convention, I would go up to one of the top income earners in the company and ask them if they have 2 minutes of time for you to ask them to do something for you. And what I would do is I would create a simple selfie video together with them. I'd turn around my phone and say, I'd like us to create a little video for my prospects. Would it be possible for you to share a little bit of these 3 things? Number 1, can you edify me and tell my prospects that I'm really serious? Number 2, can you answer the most common 3 to 5 objections people have before they join our company and buy our products? And number 3, can you tell them to get started? And believe me, one of the top income earners will know exactly what to say on that video. And guess what? In 2 minutes, you'll have a little video. And if you show that videos to your prospects, you will see how prospects will be much more likely to get started. So, in further modules, we're actually going to be talking about a master validation tool for your team, but this is much later when you've actually created a team and you don't have any more time for 3-way phone calls. We're now talking just what to do if you don't have an upline, and that's just a simple way out of it. Remember also that you can actually follow up yourself on a call with actually the Fortune follow-up script that you've already had, which has 3 questions that we're asking. What have you seen so far that you like best? Do you have any questions? And the final closing question, which is, when are you ready to get started, right? So don't despair. I think, you can do it without 3-way calls as well, but I would definitely look at perhaps somebody to help you. If nothing else, in the future, make sure that you start doing 3-way calls with your team. If you didn't have someone to help you, sometimes we cannot change that, but certainly start learning about 3-way calls right now so that you can do them for your team in the future. So let's now look at the next video.